Hi guys, you're listening to the Cask Culture podcast with Lee Robinson, aka Whiskey with Lee. It's some collection you have behind you there.
Yeah, yeah. This isn't Green Screen. This is a new edition. I haven't shown it off on Instagram yet, but this went in October. But we got the room painted 2 weeks ago, so the cabinets were filled, but the room wasn't painted. So I waited until it was kind of all painted to start showing it off. So yeah, it was a bit of a labor of love because I've actually catalogued all the bottles as well, so I know exactly what I have and where it is. Um, which wasn't an easy thing to do either. But
No,
yeah, it's just easier. It's just easier to have them all and to know if you want to do certain things with them, then at least I have them. So yeah, so
it's
it's
exactly because I have a spreadsheet on my
mhm.
phone with all of them, but I never look at it unless I'm looking for like total. So then if I'm looking at the cabinet, see unless it's sitting fucking right up front. And like even tonight, going to pick a bottle, I was like, oh fuck, no, I won't. Sure, I had that the other night, and I'm just looking, and then the problem is like the cabinet's great, but it only holds so much. So then the rest of it is in stuff that I don't drink all the time is in boxes under our bed.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm not going up there to fish out a bottle.
No, that's the thing. You just won't. Like we had some downstairs next to like we've a fish tank. We had some downstairs, and they were kind of. I chip away at them, but there was a lot of them. This was my. I don't really need an office, but we had a home office. Just when COVID kind of came, we didn't really need the room for anything else. We said we changed into an office, but I kind of sequestered it into a whiskey room instead now. So I'm happy enough with that. But I'll show you a video because the video I'm going to mash together of what happened before and what happened after, there was at least, I'm just trying to think and look at the dimensions. So from behind me here and on the floor in front of me and or my desk was actually where that was now. There was at least, I'd say, 500 bottles sitting on the floor on on the desk, stacked up high, loads of samples. It was absolutely disgraceful. So they just fit. So I'm at capacity. So all those drawers as well actually have bottles in them. They're
Flipping out.
on, yeah, they're on pulleys. And there's actually, I'll show this. I know there's a ring light now giving this light, but there's actually another cabinet over here as well, with pullouts in it. So all that is four
Flipping
deep
out.
at least of bottles. Yeah,
Some going.
yeah.
I wouldn't be at that many bottles. I would have, I think I'm at 170 of individuals,
Mm.
and then total, I would say around the 250 mark.
But and
Um,
do you know what? And it's just, and you're probably like me. It's just, you see, I want to taste so many things that you just buy a new bottle, and then all of a sudden you're left with stuff that's just there. Do you know, like I'm looking. There's a couple on the desk here now from the Avon calendars last year that I want to work my way through, and I'm looking at there's maybe 15 of them I'm looking at here now that are nearly gone. But I still don't go to them. I still go for something else back here or something in there, or
yeah,
do you know,
exactly. And
or stuff that isn't even there. Do you know that kind of way?
exactly, and like I don't even know where. Oh no, it's actually sitting there. So in our we have a wee back hallway there into the downstairs bathroom beside our wee freezer, and I'm going. Yeah, no, I definitely see it. Yes, it's there. So we're doing the tastings as well.
Mm.
It's like there was what do you call him? I forget his name. Um, but he was up from Donegal doing the tasting for me, and he left basically like a case. He was like, "Oh, they're all 3/4 bottles. You just take them for your home bar." I'm like, "That's great. I appreciate it." But do you know what I
That's
mean?
great.
There's six more that go in their mix.
Oh yeah, but you're like that's the thing. Like we had a tasting the other night for the society that I did, and like I have like two more bottles now. Like there's maybe no, there's only about 50 mils left in them. But like they're just there now for a bit. Do you know, I kind of like, you just pick up these things every so often, or you'd be at an
Exactly.
event and somebody just go, here, take that away with you there if you want. Like grand.
Aye.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
like,
good though.
I
It's all
hear
good.
you really enjoyed that. Here, there's a wee bit left. You take it. And it's like, I appreciate it, but I've nowhere to fucking put it. And that's as
Yeah.
you say about samples. On top of my cabinet, I have these. I got these plastic sort of boxes out of Tesco's, and I was on three of them. Now I've just went into a fourth, and I'm like, when do I get to? And I'm in a whiskey share group as well, and I'm like, okay, that's great. But my problem is too with samples is if I order the samples out of the group where people send me samples or whatever, is I only
Mhm.
drink half the sample because I like to come back to it. So I'm never getting rid of any samples.
Yeah, that's it. So like I'm looking again. I've a tub here next to me, like what you said, a plastic tub. There's one on wheels, and there's another Milton Very Rare box. A kind of we bought one of the ones with glasses a couple of years ago. So I just filled that with samples. Have I touched any of the samples in there in 6 months? Probably not.
No. And I actually went through a stage recently, and well, I was actually at the start of the year there. I was like, okay, I'm opening no new bottles. It's just going through samples to try and get. But then I realized about 2 weeks ago, I was like, I actually am drinking samples, but I'm drinking half the samples, so I'm still putting the thing back
Yeah, it's
to
not getting
come
through them at
back
all.
later on, and I'm never getting through them.
They're actually taking up more space, really, because you're not finishing them.
I know. I'm going to myself, oh, that was lovely. I won't drink it all. I'll keep it. And then I'm like, I look at it next time, go, oh, I don't want to use the rest of it. I'm like, fuck, I'm not getting anywhere. Oh,
Yeah, so I don't know. The
it's
the
a,
samples are a bit of
I have to
a bit of
say,
a gas thing out.
it's a hard life to have. Like, it's a hard life to
I know
have.
this is a very first world problem to be fair.
I
To
know,
be
I
complaining
know.
about that.
Because
So we're very lucky to be after complaining about that to
exactly,
be fair.
because that's
So
what I say to people in work. They're like, oh, did you have a whiskey? I was like, sometimes I just look at the cabinet and then I don't have one because I don't know what I want. And they're like, "Oh,
yeah.
it's a tough life. It's a tough life, isn't it?" I was like, "Actually, too much choice is a problem."
The worst question I guess, and it's probably the same as you, is, oh, can you recommend a whiskey for somebody to
Yeah,
buy for Joe for an occasion? It's like, yeah, I can, but one, there's a lot of pressure because I go, I didn't like that, or two, that's a huge question to ask somebody like, oh,
yeah.
like, but geez, I don't know. There's so many different questions I could ask you on the back of this now to recommend a whiskey to somebody, and they're like, would Black Barrel be alright? Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
see,
fine.
see what I always do because people ask me all the time, and I just go, "Okay, what are we talking price wise?"
Yeah.
And then go from there. And then I go from there. It's like, okay, we talk like, oh, less than 100 quid. Okay, Bushmill 16. There you go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can't go
If they
wrong.
don't,
Yeah.
and I always follow it up with, if they don't like it, they're wrong. But you fire away and get it.
Did you do one of these with Oshin during the week? Did I see that?
I did, I did. He was my first guest.
He's a nice fella. I've good time for Oshin. He's very, uh, really, really, uh, and not experience is the wrong word, but um, he's top notch. He's top his game. In terms of
Yeah,
whiskey knowledge, I have to say, he really, really is.
yeah, yeah. He really is. It was that's the first time I ever spoke to him. I just reached
Mm.
out. I'm a fan of Clonakilty, so I reached out because as I seen he recently left and he's launching his own sort of course, the Accord
Mhm.
method. So then I was like, you know what, see if I could get a chat with him, get a wee bit of chat around that and stuff. So it was a good chat. Um, yeah, so that'll be a first episode going out on Thursday.
Oh, great. Looking forward to that. Great. Yeah, Oshin's
So
really, really sound. Yeah, he's very, very nice fella as well, I must say.
yeah, he's lovely, lovely guy. He knows his stuff. Like,
I'd say what he's forgotten now is what's more than I'll ever know. So,
Oh yeah,
he's
100%.
insanely knowledgeable.
Yeah, it definitely is. And you probably see in the episode, I say very little, and like it's gonna be two parts. It's like it's gonna be two parts. It's gonna be, I think, about an hour and 50 minutes long. So I'm doing it in two parts, or an hour and 40 minutes, whatever. Um, but I say very little because I'm just listening. I'm like, this guy knows so much, you know. And just talking there, I'm like, to be fair, I'm here to listen, but I'm like, I'm just taking in what you're saying, mate.
Yeah, he's so I did a tasting with him at Cork Whisky Fest last year. Was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. Was it 2 years ago? Last year. And there was like 25 people like sardines in a room in this upstairs bar in Cork. And like everybody was just hanging on Oisin's every word, every utterance. It was fantastic. They're all
Yeah,
cast samples as well. They're all Clonakilty cast samples that he brought at the time. And everybody inside in that room was just hanging off his every word. It was brilliant. He was just fantastic. Um
yeah,
and yeah, he's definitely probably the most knowledgeable person I've come across in the last number of months. Again, I came across him again around October time, but he's insanely knowledgeable. Really, really, really,
yeah.
really is.
I would look forward to maybe bumping into him and getting a pint with him and having a chat to
Mm,
hearing a bit more. But yeah, he was absolutely brilliant, and like I appreciate him taking the time and all to come on, you know.
mm,
So let's get kicked off. Thank you very much for
mhm,
coming on. I do appreciate it,
mm.
and I
No,
think
that
this
was
is the first
very,
time.
very welcome actually to be on. So thanks very much for asking me on as well. No, I'm delighted to be
No,
here.
not a problem. It's always it was always on the cards that I was going to reach out because obviously we've talked a lot, but we've never actually had a proper conversation.
Yeah, I think last year at Whiskey Live, to be fair, I think you were having your lunch as I was trying to have a bit of lunch as well, and I met your eyes across the room in that kind of bistro place up a bit from Whiskey Live, and I kind of half recognized you, and I was like, I won't go over when he's having his lunch because were you doing something for, was it Glens of Antrim? Were you doing something last year at Whiskey
Plans
Live for
about
Glens of
yeah,
Antrim? Right? Yeah.
yeah.
I said, no, no, I'll just leave him. I'll just leave him be. Leave the man eat his
I
food.
was I was my first time at Whiskey Live last year.
Was it? Was that your
I
first time?
first time down because I've always meant to go down, but the way see the thing is, it always used to fall on like my wife's birthday weekend. So like around the 23rd of May.
Mhm.
So it
Yeah.
always fell then. So I couldn't really get the pass to say, oh, by the way, I'm going down to Dublin for a day on the drink. Like,
Yeah,
no, you're not. You know. So
yeah.
so then last year obviously it was work. So I went down and obviously seeing it actually live doing it and being there is a different ball game than
Yeah, it is, yeah. Did you do both sessions on that Saturday last year, or did you just do
oh
one,
yeah,
or
the whole day.
the whole yeah. The later on in those sessions it's a bit interesting. All right, I must say.
It's a bit interesting when we only had a wee small stand and I had to hold it up because a guy was leaning on it that hard he was going to take it with him. And like, mate, just stand up, please. Just stand up. Oh, I'm all right. I'm all right. Like, no, mate, you're not. You're not. But yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a funny old crowd because some of it's whiskey people and then some of it's people that just want to go and have
I,
a few whiskeys and they don't care what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. They're just like, yeah, sure, I'll put my two
yeah,
glass out and yeah, just fill it.
because
You just fill that now.
exactly, because we had the green crest, red crest, and black crest, and like a couple of guys just come over. What's that? I was like, oh, blah blah blah. He was like, all right, what's that one? What's that? I was like, all right, well, like, you don't need to tell me. You don't need me to tell you about it because you're not even waiting.
Yeah, he doesn't even care. You could have
I
told him it was a pre-64 patty, and he wouldn't have cared. He would have just drank
I know, I know.
it.
So I'm going to Whiskey Live issue on the Saturday session. So Saturday afternoon one. So it'll be interesting. I think it'll be nicer this year. Obviously nicer than not having to work it, but it'll be nicer in the way that I've been there sober. I can I've I've sort of half mapped out in my head.
Yeah,
So then I can go in, and that's what I said. Like a friend of mine's come with me. That's what I said. I'm just gonna go down sort of with a rough list of things I want to try and go for those.
yeah. No, that's the best way to be. All right, I go on. Hopefully, if I can, I should be able to. But I'm going on Friday afternoon session, the earliest one, just to. It's the only one that suits this year. Funny enough, this weekend works better for you. But it doesn't for me. My son's birthday is this weekend. It's coming, so like if it was 2 weekends before, that would have been perfect for me as per
Yeah,
usual. But it's just with the delay, and I just said, look, I'll try and get the Friday off, and I seem to cancel. So I'll go for a Friday afternoon. So I might be late getting into it, but I'll go and again, like you, I have a list of things that I want to try and people I want to chat
yeah.
to, and then you just belt away like. And so as long as I make the train back, that's the main thing. That
Aye,
fingers crossed that
this is
the
it.
train back is
Um,
punctually.
it's it. So we're going down. I think we're gonna jump on the train early, and then maybe a pint and some food, and then over and see how we get on.
Yeah, no, it's a great event. I think it's organically grown into something over the last couple of years, that since COVID actually, that
Yeah,
with the so many new brands as well have come online, that it just organically grows and grows. But then you'll always have random things like, what was it? There was something there last year that was like, oh, this is amazing, and I'd never tasted before. But the 2 years before that, there was the red lemonade, Mad Martyr, Putching and red lemonade that they did, that you can't buy anymore. They had cans of it. Um, and I just like 2 or 3 of them in my fridge. But I don't know what happened to them. They launched it. It was a thing for small bit, and then it just disappeared. So it's just little things like that that you just pick up
yeah,
from it as well. Like but yeah. So I'm looking forward to go if I can. Hopefully I'll be able to get there too. But I'll be there. So but I'm looking
yeah,
forward to it if I can go.
yeah. If you, as I say, it'll be interesting to see how see what's there. But yeah, I'm just gonna try and have a casual, have a few pints after maybe, but go casual enough, have a few chats and stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes, was it last year? I think it was last year. Cause you're like me, you get to know so many people that work for all these brands, and you're actually just going around having a chat most of the time.
Exactly.
It's grand. You go off and you get your glass filled or whatever, and you get something nicer because you don't have to. You're not. You kind of know these people, so just taste this and tell me what you think. Like, but a lot of things are kind of coming away. Definitely last year, my session last year, I wasn't like falling around the place drunk or anything.
Yeah,
It was just I'd gotten a few pours and we'd had a good few conversations. And then it was like, oh geez, this is 2.5 hours. And it's like, oh, I've only been to like 6 stands, you know?
yeah, exactly. Like
So
as I say, we worked it last year. It was like Jamie was with me too, and he was like, oh, well, sure. Do you want to go? Do you want to go try anything? Because we were driving back at night, and he was driving, and I didn't have to drive till later on. Obviously, like for a midnight, I think it was. Um, but he said, "Me, oh, you want to go try?" And I went to try some. Well, actually went to see some people. And I think it was maybe 25 minutes later, I came back. I said, "What'd you try?" And I was like, "Nothing," because I ran into three people and was standing talking. I ran into this, so I'm still standing here with a glass in the hand that hasn't had a drop of whiskey in it. I'm like,
yeah,
sick.
but that's actually better because I suppose this probably feeds into I suppose both our stories of whiskey, but the, it's the stories and people, and that's kind of what it's all about. It's not it's grand about all this, and this is great, and
Yeah,
that's the kind of touchstone or jumping off point for it. But like, it's not really because it's the company or the people you meet and the crack you have are going to these
exactly.
things with people. Do you know, are meeting them there, and you talk about, it, and then later you get a message off somebody saying, "Oh, geez, did you try this?" And you're like, "Oh no, I didn't." And they're like, you know, so it's the conversations that develop in the strands that come off it. Or what
Exactly.
or what it's about, you know. So
exactly, because that's exactly one of the reasons I've started doing this, is because it's about the conversations and the people you meet and the people that are behind the brands and the culture about it,
Mm.
rather than,
Yeah.
it's great what's being poured into our glass, but it's the people that make it.
Oh yeah. And look, like there was I always have this phrase of, but I might actually add a fourth thing into it. But the three things that make whiskey, and deviations surrounding that then are what actually make it unique or different to everything else. So you have your water, your grain, and then your yeast. Then every single thing outside of that is a different parameter that you can change. Now, Oisin might have spoken about this way more in depth, but like you change the type of yeast, you change 1% worth of grain, or you change even the temperature of the water that goes in the cask afterwards. 1 degree difference in your line arm coming off your still on your wash still or your intermediate still. All these things, like,
Yeah,
they can change it completely. But there is a fourth actually ingredient that I might add to that little phrase I use, and that's the people actually, because
exactly.
that's why this is in your glass. It's like
Well,
the
this is
brands
it.
up here mightn't be necessarily the best, or the not the best. That's fair. That's a bit facetious, but the nicest of products, but it's people behind them that you want to support, and that's what it is. You'll buy all
This
the
is it.
releases, regardless of what it is.
Exactly, because this is we were just sort of talking about the mechanical way of distillation versus the automated way, and that's what I was saying. Well, once you sort of take it into like the automated way, is you lose that craft of the human who's doing it, the person who has, their smell, their taste, their hunch of when to cut this or cut that, you know, because it's about the people. It's not about, we could all sit on a production line and make whiskey by just hitting a button here and hitting a button here, but it's crafting the people behind it to make it what it is.
Mm.
Also, it
Yeah.
makes it the community we have too.
No, yeah, a million percent. And like you've hit a very big nail there with the automated versus mechanical. It serves a purpose. Look, don't get me wrong, automation
Oh
does
yeah, of
serve a
course.
purpose in it, and it has to for certain brands, and that's fair. Um, and even the technical file, to a point, that was developed to help efficiency versus, I'm not going to say flavor, that's facetious, but it was efficacy won out for the technical file for pastel versus um, not depth of flavor. That's unfair, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
It was a way of it being a more efficient process for certain people to make, and that's fine. Look, you can see behind me. I'm not going to mention who that was, but a lot of their products is that behind me. I love that, but um, there's automation to a point, but there is a way that you can just cut all that out and still have products that you should um that will should be championed, is what I'm trying to say, really, because they will be the people that might not survive unless you do champion them, because they're the people that, yeah, they might have to charge 20-25 euros extra on a bottle, but you're buying into the person and their ethos and their modus. You're not just, and
exactly.
the craftsmanship. Like, I'll show you. I actually have one here. Like, you're probably familiar with Michael, but like, a lot of people mightn't be. Like Michael O'Boyle and Boylock, he just released his first whiskey
Yes,
in the last month. Like, that's apart from maybe a few months, he had a second person. So Michael is a one-man show. It's
yeah,
a one-person distillery, uh, and it was. He's slightly gone, slightly automated on a couple of elements of his process at the moment. All the cut stores still manual. Everything is done by hand. It's
yeah,
direct fire still. All these things are what drives flavor. And you get a unique persona from it, because it's, as you said, a manual cut. So he's going in, he's sniffing something, he's going,
yeah,
maybe one another 1 or 2%. Do you know? And that you don't get that from automation. I would assume Oshin
exactly.
talked way more in depth and way more knowledgeably about that than what I would be able to. But um, that's certainly something that needs to be championed, because I think it could be something that might get lost as we move forwards. Like, I know. we've had a couple of bad news stories in the last number of months, and there's probably more to come. Just from what I'm hearing, or from probably what you're hearing, this it's not going to stop at any point soon. But the phrase when people are asking, "Oh, why are you still into whiskey?" or "Oh, it's kind of a sinking ship," it's not. Like, there was almost exponential growth for a couple of years, but that was always going to have to stagnate at some point. There was
Yeah.
always going to be a point where that was not going to be sustainable
Well,
anymore. But think of where that point is now to where it was 10 years ago.
exactly.
It's on a much better plane, and on a much better trajectory. So some unfortunately there will have to be a small bit of regression again before there's more progress, and maybe that's just the recorrection that's needed. And unfortunately, there might be some loss, but in the longer term, there might actually be more a benefit anyway from that. But
Yeah.
sorry, the point around that lot is it's people like Brendan and Killoan and people like Michael Boyle that do need backing, because without the kind of craft distilleries, you're not going to get the lean into manual distillation as opposed to automated distillation, because it's going to suit the bigger companies again to do that, I suppose. So
Yeah, exactly. And this, as you say, and obviously just to cap on what you've said there is exactly you need to champion the people, because this isn't something that started because some big brand came in and started, oh, we're gonna make this product and this is how it is. No, it's all started from small people in small places making this terrific spirit. And now, yes, we have had immense growth, but everything that everything that goes up must come down. And unfortunately, not everyone was in a position to survive the hard spell of it. And we have had, as you say, we have had casualties yet, but hopefully we are on the slight bit of a turn that there won't be many more. Still believe there will be a couple more, but that's that's inevitable, really.
yeah, look, it's just part and parcel of business in general. These things go, and look, there's peaks and troughs. Like whiskey goes through peaks and troughs in a cask. Sometimes you pick
Exactly.
it on a day and it peaks and it sings you, and then other days there's a trough and it tastes like dishwater. These things peak and trough. There'll be another wave. I'm certain in a couple of years again versus America. I don't get I don't like getting political, but in a couple of years when that moves its way through, I mean, the American market might start to open back up again, and that's a huge market for Irish export in general, not just for
Yeah.
whiskey, but just Ireland as a whole. And I think today actually, so I read somewhere that there was I think this year is on track to be the highest amount of money spent in Ireland by American tourists ever, which is good, which is
So
great to see. That
yeah,
means that what we do here they must like. So when it
yeah,
becomes viable again, pushing it back into them is
yeah,
what's going to is going to make sense. So in 2 years' time, or whenever that does run its way through, then landscape changes. Everybody's back on a peak again, hopefully, and things get a bit more not manageable. But I think there is a lot of, I suppose, the thing is there's probably a lot of whiskey out there, a lot of Irish whiskey in particular, and that can sit on shelves. And some of the smaller guys can't compete with the bigger guys because they can drop a price that's drop a hat. Other people can't because they're dependent on that margin that they have already.
yeah,
But things change, landscape changes in a couple of years. Who's to say it doesn't change and doesn't change favorably? And we're away for state again, So, sweetie.
yeah. And just touching on what you said there is exactly with the not getting political, but with the American way of it. Unfortunately, for the majority of distilleries here are on the other side of the border from obviously where I am. So we are getting that break off the tariff because they're
Mm.
classing it in the UK, whereas yourselves aren't. So it will be hard to see that out with what a 20% or 10%, whatever it is, on top of natural pricing.
Yeah, very much so. That is a good point, actually. Yeah, that I'd forgotten that. That they're classing that as not Scotch, but as a UK export as opposed to
Yeah,
Ireland. But look, again, look, peaks and troughs. If the product is good enough, they'll find a way to get it there. Now I know there's actually a couple of distilleries are looking at like Indian market, which is hard to get into, but African markets in particular, a lot of distilleries are interested in trying to go to Africa. And to try and break into China. So there's other markets, and there's like between
of
India and
course.
China. Do you know?
And
Yeah, and look, maybe look, okay, it's easy for me to say this sat in my house, but like, was there too many eggs put in an American basket as well? You know, and they kind of not ignored, but went, oh, we'll get to that. Maybe a better solution would have been to go for that first and then move back into America or concentrate on. I don't know. Look, I that's not my background. I'm very happy to go look. Grand, I don't know the dynamic of putting a whiskey into these places, but maybe there was too many eggs put in the American basket, and if there wasn't, then
yeah,
because I do know there is a brand, I'm not going to name who they are, but they don't necessarily, they're not a distillery per se. They bottle whiskey and send it off. They've two huge contracts in China, that's sustaining their business. You know, so like there's ways and means of making money that I suppose is what I'm trying to say that too. So
yeah, exactly. And as you say, was it a case of too many eggs put in the American basket and it's sort of refluxed a bit on it?
but why
Uh,
wouldn't you is probably the answer somebody would say to me then. Yeah, like it is our biggest export market anyway in general, so why wouldn't you push Irish whiskey in there? It's a great story, it's a great product. It was at a great price. So why wouldn't you? Geez, look, hands up, yeah. Geez, I probably would have done too if I was in a whiskey brand. But grand hindsight is 2020. But maybe it was just too much of a eggs in one basket situation. But look, that's
yeah.
it's a satire. Yeah. So
Well, I wanted to touch a wee bit on your whiskey journey because I know I've obviously had chats and stuff with you over Instagram and all, but I don't know that much about how you started and how you got to where you are now.
yeah, so I suppose like like a lot of people in college, I would have drank just Jameson and lime or Jameson and ginger ale or Jameson and Coke or Jack Daniels and Coke. And I never really developed much from there for a number of years. It was just kind of a drink of choice kind of. Um, and this is actually funny. It's good timing for this story because the story rehashed as well the other night. So at the tasting, but um, there was a New Year's Eve, I'd say 10 years ago, maybe. 22, yeah, about 10 years ago. And my brother-in-law is into whiskey, more so Scotch actually than Irish whiskey. And uh, we were just having a couple of drinks, just like you would, and I had my Jameson or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, but try this." So what he poured me was Lefroy, 10-year-old Lefroy, being green around the gills to what Lefroy was, and we said, "Oh, this mightn't suit, you know, like it's a bit peaty and a bit smoky." And it's okay, I'll give it a go, you know. I didn't like it at the time. I do now, but I didn't like it at the time because it was a bit too medicinal and iodine, and I was like, oh, geez. But something did click in me, and I was, how is the Jameson in the glass, this glass, so different to this? But they're both whiskey. I was like,
Yeah,
they're both different things. So I started looking up like Scotch versus whiskey. Is there a difference? And it's like, no, it's like they're the same thing. Uh, it just fascinated me. So I suppose my day to day, I'm a pharmacist. I'm a superintendent pharmacist for a group in Cork. Um, and uh, that's chemistry based in college. Like obviously I don't use chemistry now because I chat to patients then do and dispense medicines, but the chemistry would still fascinate me, organic chemistry in particular. But like to me, all of that is chemistry. Again, she knows better worse than that, and biology obviously when you use yeast, but it's the science behind it is what fascinates me. And so I like the science of
yeah,
distillation and the chemistry of molecules interacting with each other in and out of each other in the cask. Like as I said earlier, a 1 degree difference in coming off a line armor still gives you a completely different product because of just
yeah,
how the process is working. Um, and that to me fascinates me. And that threw me down that rabbit hole. But it wasn't really until lockdown I suppose really lockdown is when it kind of kicked in. So I joined the Cork Whisky Society in June 2020, because I saw they were doing online tastings and stuff like that, and I'm big into running, and running was kind of taken away when lockdowns came. And like all of us, we were all at home doing nothing. I was like, oh, gee, what can I do? They were still running their online tastings. Now, oh, that's interesting, and there's lots available. So I'll join up and I'll see. And again, handy to do it on a Friday night at home. So did a couple of them, and I was like, yeah, that's interesting. Then it was around February 2021 that kind of started doing the Instagram thing. And it's kind of gone from strength to strength. Yeah, it's kind of, I suppose people might know the page, the Whiskey Appreciation Society, from I do a thing on a Sunday night. Every Sunday night there's a Sunday spotlight of a new, primarily Irish whiskey. There has one or two occasions where they're not, but they're always tangentially kind of related to Irish whiskey or Irish spirits. And hopefully going forward, we'll do a few more videos and stuff now because I have the room set up for it.
Yeah.
Might do a few more videos, etc., and things like that. So, but you know what? Again, it's that's kind of an abridged version. But like last few months, I've come on the committee in the Cork Whisky Society as well. All these things
That's
have organically happened through just doing stuff, like that, like Instagram kind of took
yeah.
off at one point. Like the advent calendars I do at Christmas time, that's kind of when that kind of pushed what I do, but more into the fore a couple of years ago. People were like, oh, all right, and kind of gradually moved on from there, I suppose. So
Didn't realize. I didn't realize that. I do realize that obviously something is small as two different characteristics of whiskey can just, you know, um, mine was a wee bit different in the way that, and actually to go back to what you said there about Lefroy, is I
mm.
have a bottle, and I got it for I'm gonna say a birthday present, it might have been Christmas, 5 or 6 years ago. Still to this day, I have opened it, smelt it, straight back on, still sitting in the cupboard. Haven't had the notion to actually pour it and try it. Every time
But do you like,
I think
but
up,
but do you like peated Irish whiskey though? Have you had any, or turfed Irish whiskies? Have you had any?
I've had some, and I'm getting there. I'm building myself,
Mm.
but Lefroy is a bit fucking. There's different level of that.
And then
Don't
funny,
get me
right? So
wrong.
before you go on with that, right? So I have a theory on this, and so Lefroy, there's a couple of other ones as well, Lagavulin, like they all have this kind of medicinal and like really kind of heavy iodine peated note. But I've had a couple of Octomores, which are like your 30, 40 maybe ppms for regular peated Scotch ones, right? But like Octomore like 200, like
Yeah,
Bruichladdich, like they're like 200, 220, 230. It's actually less abrasive. An Octomore is less abrasive, I would suggest. And I think it's because my theory that it just goes off a cliff. So it goes to a certain crescendo of like ppms, and then the ppms just don't do anything anymore. It actually goes on the reverse edge again, and it creates a completely different profile. Anyway, sorry, that's just an aside as we were talking about a piece of malt. Anyway, go on, sorry.
well, see, there's that. It was if you're thinking that it goes so high and then just sort of come, I will have to try it. I know I have to try it. I do, but it's like the Ardran stuff.
Mm,
Um, like the Silkies, I was never really, as say, peated fan, not really, but I like that stuff. Do you know what?
mm,
I do like that. Or Hinch have a peated, which is quite nice.
mhm,
Um, the new Copeland 26.2 just came out, and I
mhm,
had Copeland at my tasting the other night, so it was coming out on the Friday, and they had it for my tasting on the Thursday night, and it was beautiful. And I think
mm,
they said it was 50 ppm.
mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but it was nice. So I am sort of getting my toe in there, but I just haven't took a dive to anything sort of major yet.
Look, and to be fair, like I still, it wouldn't be something that I would reach for off the shelf. Now, again, I not to go back to Michael and Abuelo, but that is peated as well, but it's a different layer. Maybe again because it's manual, and maybe because it's
Yeah,
different peated grains. I'm not too sure, but that's a different level again. So if you do want to try something that you probably would like, definitely something from Michael's newest releases, the probably the first 7.9 one, is not going to say gateway because it's still a bit more uh not your kind of entry level pieces whiskey, but it's certainly something that would be a different level again. Like it's not Ardbeg kind of level of kind of like a
yeah,
bottle of Ardbeg Goodall that's inside there sitting in the shelf for the last 2 years. It won't be touched. It's just it's too abrasive. You need to be in a very particular mood for something like that.
yeah,
And if you are, great, but if you're not, then it's just not worth it. Like because you're just not going to like it because it's a mood whiskey, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. Well, this it, and this is where that Lafroig is sitting with me. It's like, am I in the mood to go for that? Don't get me wrong, the silky, the hard dry, single malt. I'm like, yep, I can. If I'm feeling a wee bit there, I'm like, oh yeah, I could have something like that because there's a bit more, I'll say for me, complexity to it. Whereas it's not just gonna hit me as hard. But I just haven't had that notion to go, okay, I'm going to dive in here because
Mm.
it can be, you know yourself, you can have it and it be rough.
What out of curiosity, because I have a couple of glasses lined up here, right, of stuff. What whiskeys did you pick for tonight? Sorry. Did you pull a bottle of whiskey or something to pour?
So far, I've got one sitting. I've got one sitting. No, don't worry, I have bits and pieces around. But so I picked two stacks. The Barn
Oh, the flight
Swallow,
series. Oh yeah.
yeah, Flight Series 7 year Barolo cask. As I
Yeah.
said, I was looking and I was like, oh fuck, no, I had that down. I don't know about that. So I seen this and I thought, you know what? I've been really enjoying this at the minute. I'll go with this.
That's a good bottle, actually. I actually must pull out my bottle of that. I can't remember where it is. Yeah, that was tasty. So I actually went with something kind of a bridge to the north as well. So you probably might have
Cologne,
seen this on socials. So it's our bottling that we did with Brendan and Cologne when he came down for tasting in September. Um, it is a blend of G&D malt and Cologne Pastel. Um, so
unbelievable.
he did a small run of bottling just for us for the society when he came down. After he came down, he brought a sample of it down to see what we think. But oh, it's a phenomenal bit of stuff. But it's just a bridge between the north and south. I thought it was a nice tie-in for us to do that. I
Of
actually
course,
did I put a sample of this into? No, I will. I get your sample of this though.
no
Because
problem.
this
Thank
is
you.
good and it's unique. So it's good stuff. I was reminded of
Well,
how good it was actually the other night.
I was actually this bottle. I was looking at getting it for a while, and then I wasn't gonna be a duty free. So a friend of mine who's come to Whiskey Live with me, we took a wee trip down to Two Stacks. We were having a wee gander around, and Liam was there, and we were looking through because if you've ever been in Two Stacks, if you go up the stairs, there a wee tasting room
Mm.
outside, they have the wee shelf with the bottles and all. So I was hooking through. I was like, oh fuck, what will I find here? You know, like oh, and then I poured this out. I poured this out. I was like, I thought that was way for the airport. He's like, aye, it is, but do you want it? I was like, aye, I'd look much. And he told me so straight away. It's like, that saved me annoying someone to go duty free for me.
I had to annoy somebody to get it from duty free.
I was, 'cause I've been saying like I have all my work ones tortured, so I was literally like, where are you going on holiday? Oh yes, to just where you flying from? Belfast. No use to me. No use to me. Thanks very much. That's all
Yeah,
I do.
has to be
Where you
Dublin.
flying
You
from?
go to Dublin. You go to Dublin.
I where you going? You go from Dublin. You no use. No use. So then when I seen this, I was straight away like, I can I buy that? He was like, yeah, of course. I was like, okay, great. Like no more annoying people to go to duty free.
There is one annoying thing with that duty free hack, and it's that so in Cork, in the loop in Cork Airport, they don't have some of the bottles, and you have to book it 72 hours in advance. You have to buy it 72 hours in advance. So if somebody's coming back, they have to, like, you have to do it. So I'm getting a bottle of the Dingle. There's a new Dingle Paulo Cortado cask gone into the loop, and I had to buy it on Friday for my brother-in-law to pick it up on Tuesday in Cork Airport. I think they keep all of the stock in Dublin, and then they just ship them down with their deliveries maybe twice or
Yeah,
three times a week. But it's just, if you didn't know, I got caught before with it, that I couldn't do it, and I missed out on
yeah.
something. I was like, oh well, that's a bit of a cod, like, you know. Anyway, so, but yeah, I got this.
Well, that
This,
is,
to be fair to Brendan, this was a nice thing for him to put together for us. Because it was done off the cuff, and it was Laurie, to be fair, had pushed that, whiskey chat, sorry, had pushed to get this over the line, to be fair to him. So because it's really, really good. It's really, really good. So
yeah. Brendan has some.
actually,
Sorry.
you actually touched on something there earlier. Something that I don't know though, and I kind of cut across here with the whole peated whiskey thing. This actually is peated. Sorry, as I'm talking about it, I'm just realizing that that's peated. The What is your story though, to enter? Because we're both, I suppose, I don't like using the phrase kind of young, but we're younger than a lot of people that I would see coming to our tastings for the society, or that I would interact with online. So I suppose it's
Well,
there's a new wave, I suppose, of kind of young people. I'm curious to know how people got their start as well in it.
yeah, no, I definitely agree. There's like a new generation of whiskey people coming in, and it's not, the typical, oh, been drinking whiskey for 20 years. It's like, okay, I've started 5 years ago, and you've raised the level.
Mm.
Um, Mine sort of, to be honest, so I'm trying to think how long my sister's been married. So basically, just before my sister got married, a couple months before, I was round at my sister's house, and my brother-in-law had said to me, I don't know what we were around for, but he said to me, do you want Jameson and Coke? I was like, do you have anything else? I don't really like Coke. Um, and so he said to me, oh, I have Sprite, 7 Up, whatever it was. And I said, oh, sure, I'll take it with that. So I had a Sprite and a Jameson. I was like, oh, fuck, that's quite nice, quite sweet. And I have a terrible sweet tooth. So I was like, oh, fuck, I was like, oh, fuck, that's lovely. So it went on like that. I was like, oh, I gotta start drinking Jameson Sprite, Jameson lemonade. Um, so it sort of went like that, and then I was like, okay, well, why not try Bushmills? Bushmills up here. Why not try Bushmills? Tried that, and then sort of rolled around, and like a note to it is my birthday's 10 days after Christmas. So when it came to Christmas and my birthday, everyone was like, he's like whiskey. So it sort of accumulated a couple bottles, the Tesco
Mm.
ones you get an offer. So
Mm.
people accumulate bottles. So I ended up with like 8 or 10 bottles of whiskey by the stage. I was like, oh, I have a wee collection. Thought a wee collection, though. And I still wasn't drinking anything out of the ordinary. It was still just Jameson Sprite, Bushmill Sprite. There wasn't anything special.
Mm.
Um, and then it's sort of COVID and stuff. And in COVID, I had a website, and the same Instagram I have now, but it was a different name, and it was like a sort of life blog. And then sort of halfway through COVID, I was like, oh, change it. We had bought our house, and I started collecting more bottles, but I wasn't really drinking anymore. And then sort of as I changed to the whiskey Instagram, I just sort of slowly started to post just pictures of stuff I was trying. And it got to the stage I was like, okay, I'm trying this with a wee bit of Sprite, or I'm trying this with ice, and then it sort of finally went down to me just drinking it neat, and then starting to dip my toe into it more and posting more, and then my collection grew, and then it just sort of organically grew a bit more of a following, and then started being invited to things and doing more whiskey stuff, and then about 2 years ago I decided to start my own whiskey tastings. So then I've been running sort of the Whiskey Lee tasting club in Moira for about 2 years, and then now it's starting this podcast.
Yeah, good. That's great.
So,
But I think just just two things from that. Brother-in-laws have a lot to answer for, don't they?
uh,
That's funny that you got your kind of in or fascination with it from that. But you're it's the community that's what's drawing you in as well, from what I can tell from that.
yeah,
Like it's the yeah, and like getting invited to things, you meet more people, and then when you meet more people, you want to meet more people, or you meet them through that, or people recognize you and you have a chat with them, and just organically goes off into. I probably chat more to people that would text me or message me on Instagram than people that I would have known for years, if that makes sense. You know,
yeah.
it's funny.
No, exactly. Because as you say about community, that's exactly it too. Because yes, I would have had a wee bit of like obsession of collecting more bottles and hitting at one stage hitting numbers, being like, oh, I've got 50 now, you know this. But then it sort of came the way then as I started to taste more, and not even, yes, be invited to more things, but not invited for the invite for the whiskey, and then taste, and then I sort of got a wee bit obsessed with that and tasting different, and then see, like, as they say, seeing how things are so different with so many whiskies, and so many different characteristics that it can bring.
Yeah. But yeah, actually, the whiskies are like the people in so far that they're all different, and they're all
Yeah,
unique. So like I met loads of people, and I had big good friends. Pretty good friends through whiskey. But yeah, they're all unique, and they're all different strands, and they're all yeah. It's funny. Yeah, it's the whiskies are like people, and people are like whiskey. They're unique. And that's what draws us all together. It's grand. It's the liquid that's in the glass that draws people in to these conversations. And I wouldn't be sat here tonight only for 5, 6 years ago setting up this second Instagram page that I didn't think would do anything. It was more of a an outlet. Like on a Sunday, like my wife used to kill me. Like I'd sit down for 2 hours and be writing notes, and I'd be doing the thing for Instagram, and it'd be like an hour or 2 hours. Now it gets we do different times now during the week and stuff like that. But like it still takes that bit of time. But it's a gear shift
yeah,
for me as well. I like I have a very stressful job during the week. So just sit down for an hour, even on a Saturday night or a Sunday night, and to just do that, and gear shift
exactly.
from what I do on it, it's just completely different. And you're probably like that with the tastings. And I saw actually you do something pretty unique as well. Those pottery tastings.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. That's neat. That's the neat
Okay.
thing.
So it's so with the new set of events I've started. So I have the whiskey and pottery.
Mm.
I have coming up in a couple of weeks. I have a whiskey and candle making.
Class.
Instead of a paint and sip, it's like a whiskey and sip. So a wee mini tasting as we're painting, and then I'm doing a what was the other one we're doing? Oh, looking into doing a whiskey and ice cream thing. I don't
Oh
know
yeah.
how, but anyways, so there's a couple. There's one of the wee pots, we spout on the end for. So you
Mm.
get to make these, and then this is my first one I made. So quite cool.
But they're nice
But
too. Like it's not as if they're like things you go, oh, grand John, you toss it away afterwards. They're usable, unique, but they actually look quite nice as well. Though, to be fair, like so.
yeah, Yeah, so it actually uses two different styles of mud fruit.
Mm,
One is from one's from Donegal, and then I think the other one is from England. But yeah, it's quite interesting. But as you said about those, the other reason I've started doing not essentially away from tastings is obviously because I still do tasting stuff, is these different style events is because as much as whiskey can be the main concept of any event, it doesn't have to be. The, you can do something creative alongside a couple of whiskeys, for the community effect, for the enjoyment and the experience of it. Because I've noticed during these other wee events is there's a lot of people who come to an event where you're having a couple of whiskeys and you're getting basically a mini tasting and doing something creative that wouldn't actually sit out in our whiskey tasting because they think you need to know everything and
mm.
you need to be able to smell this or smell that. And there's maybe a wee bit of I'm not going to say stigma, but expectation if you go to a whiskey tasting. So that's why I've tried to create these new sort of category of events. So yes, whiskey is one of the main elements, but it doesn't have to be the main element.
Yeah. No, that should be champions. That's a great idea. You're right. There is a perception among a lot of people that not that's not for everybody, but that yeah, I'll use another phrase that I don't like using, but not elitism, but a bit of snobism or snobbishness in whiskey within whisker. But there's not like you're going to get those people, um, but there's not. I know I do kind of unusual tasting notes and stuff like that, but like if that's just because it's like I know you have a different system in the North. Like we have the leaving cert here, and like in English and leaving cert, you write nest or whatever. Like when you're 16, 17, a 30, 40, 50 year old person is going to read that and grade it. Their perception of what's good is terrible to somebody else, or my perception of what's brilliant is terrible to somebody else, etc.
Yeah,
So there doesn't need to be this snobism. Like again, it goes back to whiskey's neat, but there doesn't need to be a snobism on your gateway of utilizing things like that or creativity around it and using the whiskey as a kind of a starting gun almost to a different evening, as opposed to just being sat at home with I don't know, a can of Stella or a kind
yeah,
of
exactly.
that's but it's a way of just moving into a broader field of things. There's it reminds me of something I got. I didn't think I don't have a girl, I have a boy, but there's two guys in Cork have started this thing called I think it's two. Pints and ponytails. So you go along and you learn how to
Yes.
do
So
is yeah.
some guys up here, one of the groups I sort of do a bit now and again. I wouldn't be that involved with them, but Dad Bods and they launched a whole thing of it. It's basically pints and ponies here. So they had their first one a wee while ago. I think next time they do one, if it's out my way, I'm gonna maybe get involved and do a wee whiskey or something for them. But yeah, they're doing something similar.
It's good. Like no, I suppose you might have seen this now. I find it very hard to get out in the middle of the week to do our tastings with the society. 'Cause my wife works overnight as well still some nights. So it's difficult. And something that I liked in COVID was actually the Zoom element of that. Um, would I like to do Zoom tasting myself going forward? It is something that I'd probably like to explore. Namely because it is just easier to sit down and like I can hear my son downstairs and that's fine. But like if something does go wrong, you can just dip out. You don't have to be there. You're not
Exactly.
20 minutes away from home. You're not a cab ride away from home. Bed is just there on the other side of the wall. It's a 45 second trip to go around the house and go back into bed as opposed to being a whole ordeal.
Exactly.
Um, it's a bit more impersonal. I will agree to that. But there's a lot of people that potentially are sat at home, or especially my age, like I've fallen out of contact with a lot of people, and that's through my fault as well as there's no failing on anybody's part, my fault as well,
yeah.
that just too tired sometimes to interact with people. You just fall out of contact with people just for not for any reason. You're just too tired, or you're just like just sat at home. You're small, feeling small but
As you say,
isolated. You know.
it's hard when everyone has their own lives going on. You
Mm,
know, it. Don't get me wrong. As you said earlier, is I probably talk to more people on a day-to-day basis than I actually know personally
mm.
because of the Instagram. But as you say, it's hard when like you're having to make an effort to see people or talk to people, but you have your own day-to-day life going on, and so do they. It's very easy to get out of the way of it.
Oh yeah, 1,000,000%. Um, so I think there is an element of, yeah, in person is great and doing things like that is brilliant, but there is still, I know you said you moved away from the tastings, but there is still an element of, there could be a community around that as well. That
Yeah,
the snobbishism or whatever you want to call it, or like that can all just feck off and go somewhere. But there
yeah,
is there's a market, not a market. That's not the right phrase, but there's a community uh there. I think that could be tapped into potentially, that just can't go out, feeling small bit like going, jeepers, I don't know, like, is there any sort of way it could be getting out or about, and that this could be a skew for them to do it as well. Because they do. Zoom showed me that during COVID, because it helped me personally anyway. Like we just had stuff going on during COVID and things like that, but it definitely helped me during COVID. So if it helped me during COVID, I would imagine there's a lot of other people who could benefit that probably still aren't able to get out, or like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say really, but there's probably
no, no,
a, yeah.
I know what you mean exactly, and there may be people, as you say, it's just maybe not in their area, or it's too far them to travel, or it's okay getting there but not getting back. All these sort of elements that an online tasting might suit them better.
Yeah, and you still get your little bit of knowledge, and you still get your interaction with the person or the brand, but you're interacting with people. That's the thing. Like, and I know they wouldn't be people that would be doing whiskey tastings on Zoom, but like I have patients that come in out to me inside work, and their only interaction for that day is talking to me or talking to the person that sees them in my shop. Like that's for a day, an age that we're in, where it's so easy to get in touch with somebody or to have contact with people. For somebody to still feel that isolated, to me
Yeah,
is disheartening, but bizarre, because there are ways and means, but unfortunately there's still people that can't. And I would imagine that's people even our age that can't, or are finding it hard to engage with it because of circumstance or home life, etc., or just can't get out, or
yeah.
too tired to get
Or
out even, So yeah.
yeah, or the other fact of it is sorry, I'm just getting over a chest infection.
Your
So
cancer.
the other factor is there's some people that just won't show up to something like that alone.
Hmm.
Want to have.
Yeah.
And recently, I've had a couple of people come to mind alone, but obviously, we've had messages back and forth like, "Oh, don't worry, blah blah blah." But they have took a step, but there could be a lot of people looking at the posters for events, or the posts on Facebook, and saying, "Oh, I'd love to go out, but I've no one to go with. I'm not gonna go by myself."
Yeah, and that's a great point. And Zoom would eradicate that firstly, something like that, a Zoom element. But that's a
Yeah,
good point you raised, because I went to, there was a whiskey tasting. I'd say one of the first in-person ones back. I'd say maybe the first, the second one, the first in-person ones out with the society in Cork when I do when they came back. And sure, I didn't know anybody really, because I'd only met them if they were handing over samples or through interacting with them on Instagram, because
yeah,
I wouldn't have known them very much. Um, and I was late. It just so happened I read the time wrong, and I was late. Um, and I walked into where it was on. It was in a glass room to my left. The tasting had already started. Everybody was sat down, and I just went, "No, I'm not doing this. No, I'm not." I turned around and walked away. I just left. But so if it happened to me, it definitely will
Exactly
have,
here. It's
and is currently happening
the
to somebody
same
else.
things.
So
The same things happen to me as I've showed up late to something, and I know as soon as I open that door, everyone's going to turn around and look, and I've just stood and went, no, I can't do this, and had to walk away.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
like a prize on a
and
game show being revealed. Like you're like, no, I'm
yeah,
not doing this.
exactly.
Like,
And
yeah,
you know yourself from actually, if you were a person in the room, is probably no one would have had turned around. But at that time, you think every single person is going to turn and look at me, and then it just consumes you, and you have to walk away.
yeah, and that's exactly what happened to me as well that night. And I just went, no,
Exactly.
I
So
just can't do this. Yeah,
exactly. So if it's happened to us two who've been to plenty of things, like who hasn't it happened to? Do you know where they've maybe looked at, as say, looked at a poster of, because I'm posting a lot of my obviously tastings on Facebook for new people, and looked at it, went, no, I'd love to go out, but I'm not gonna go by myself.
yeah, no.
You
So
know.
there's definitely that stigma could also and should also be taken out because it kind of feeds into the. Uh, I'll go back to the phrase of snobby, but like, it goes back to that element of, oh well, I'd have to go with somebody because I feel more comfortable because I'm not just going to sit there and conceivably look like a pleb because I don't know X, Y, and Z. It doesn't matter. It really
Exactly.
doesn't matter. Do you know? Like
Yeah.
I sit in most of our tastings in society, and I'm quiet as a sheep. Like I'm just sat
Yeah.
there and I'm kind of like, great, yeah, this is great. Do you
Yeah. No,
know?
I'm the same. People like after people do tastings for me and all, they're oh well, was that all right? I'm like, yeah, it was great. But I'm sitting there because I'm sitting there and I'm not saying anything or I'm not really interacting. They're like, is this all right? I'm like, yes, of course it is. But you know more than me. You're working for this brand. You know your stuff. I'm just sitting here consuming what you're saying.
Exactly. I'm not going to be the person that goes,
And
actually, sorry about that there. No, I actually think you're wrong, or I get like
exactly.
appley plums are, and like, no, you don't. Like, it doesn't matter. It
But
really
then
does not matter.
that's and at each and I make sure to say this at each of my wee creative events that I do my wee tastings at and stuff, is I make sure to say this straight away, is by the way, I don't really like to give tasting notes because it's subjective, but I will tell you what I taste and see if you don't taste that or smell that. That's okay because it's all subjective to each of our tastes. And then people go, "Oh, okay, that's fine, that's fine." It's like, see if you tell me that you taste, I don't know, fucking boot leather, and I'm tasting peaches. That's okay. You may be, you may have something wrong with your tongue, but
Yeah, you
that is
might have
okay.
COVID or something, but that's okay.
I that's okay. But you know what I mean? And